Hi, welcome back with the new story. This will be video series on famous personalities. Here we make video by read along format. That means when I narrate the story, you can read in your mind along with me. As you must be knowing that when we listen and read at the same time, we understand things clearly and it helps us in remembering. Today's video is on another famous personality, Leonardo da Vinci. He is considered greatest marvel in the field of arts, and his methods are still followed and admired by artists, not only just in Europe but all around the world. Every person in the world have ups and downs in their life, and Leonardo da Vinci life will also be surely inspiring you. One more thing, if you are new to this channel, I'll suggest you to subscribe this channel and share with your friends, and so also do like this video so that it will help us to get motivated and make more videos. So let's begin. This is the biography of Leonardo da Vinci. Let us start with the early days. Leonardo da Vinci was born in 1452. He is one of the world's greatest thinkers, artists and philosophers. Seeking after perfection, he created rare masterpieces of art such as the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. In addition to art, Da Vinci studied all aspects of life from anatomy to mathematics and astronomy. His far-reaching investigations and discoveries sought to show up an underlying unity of the universe. Da Vinci is considered to be a key person in the birth of the European Renaissance, which saw an emergence of new ideas, scientific discoveries, and the creation of beautiful art. Short biography of Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo was born an illegitimate son of Florentine noble and a peasant woman. He grew up in Vinci, Italy. In his formative years, he developed a love of nature and from an early age began to display his remarkable academic and artistic talents. Family, education and early life. Born out of wedlock to respected Florentine notary, Ser Piero, and a young peasant woman named Caterina, Leonardo da Vinci was raised by his father and his stepmother. At the age of 5, he moved to his father's family estate in nearby Vinci, the Tuscan town from which the surname associated with Leonardo derives, and lived with his uncle and grandparents. Young Leonardo received little formal education beyond basic reading, writing, and mathematical instruction, but his artistic talents were evident from an early age. Around the age of 14, Da Vinci began a lengthy apprenticeship with the noted artist Andrea del Verrocchio in Florence. He learned a wide breadth of technical skills including metalworking, leather arts, carpentry, drawing, painting and sculpting. His earliest known dated work, a pen and ink drawing of a landscape in the Arno Valley, was sketched in 1473. At the age of 20, Da Vinci qualified for membership as a master artist in Florence Guild of St. Luke and established his own workshop. However, he continued to collaborate with his teacher for an additional 5 years. It is thought that Del Verrocchio completed his baptism of Christ around 1475 with the help of his student, who painted part of the background and the young angel holding the robe of Jesus. According to the lives of the most excellent painters, sculptors and artists written around 1550 by artist Giorgio Vasari, Verrocchio was so humbled by the superior talent of his pupil that he never picked up a paintbrush again. Most scholars, however, dismissed Vasari's account as apocryphal. In 1478, after leaving Verrocchio's studio, Da Vinci received his first independent commission for an altar piece to reside in a chapel inside Florence's Palazzo Vecchio. 3 years later, the Augustinian monks of Florence, San Donato Scepto, tasked him to paint Adoration of the Magi. The young artist, however, would leave the city and abandon both commissions without ever completing them. As we have seen above, This is the painting of Adoration of Magi by Da Vinci. In 1466, he moved to Florence, where he entered the workshop of Verrocchio. Initially, his formative style reflected his teacher, but he soon developed an artistic sense, which went far beyond his master's rigid style. His first work of significance was the Adoration of the Magi, commissioned by monks of San Donato a Scepto. Although unfinished, the work was a masterpiece and introduced several new ideas. In particular, he introduced themes of movement and drama. He also pioneered the use of chiaroscuro. This is a technique of defining forms through the contrast of light and shadow. This would be later used to great effect in Mona Lisa. Shadow in the means by which bodies display their form. The forms of bodies could not be understood in detail but foreshadow. The Notebooks of Leonardo da Vinci, Richter 1888. In 1482, Leonardo went to the court of Ludovico Sforza in Milan, where he stayed for 16 years. Here he continued painting and also branched out into other interests such as engineering and anatomy. During this period, he painted the famous artworks Madonna on the Rocks and also The Last Supper. This is the famous painting of Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci. The Last Supper has been described as one of the greatest religious paintings. With Christ at the center of the picture, it embodies great feeling and emotion as Christ is about to announce his imminent betrayal by Judas. The painting is held at the convent of Santa Maria della Grace in Milan, but unfortunately over time the quality of the original painting has deteriorated despite frequent restoration attempts. The Last Supper. Around 1495, Ludovico Sforza, then the Duke of Milan, commissioned Da Vinci to paint the Last Supper on the back wall of the dining hall, instead the monastery of Milan Santa Maria delle Grace. The masterpiece, which took approximately 3 years to complete, captures the drama of the moment when Jesus informs the 12 apostles gathered for Passover dinner that one of them would soon betray him. The range of facial expressions and the body language of the figures around the table bring the masterful composition to life. The decision by Da Vinci to paint with tempera and oil on dried plaster instead of painting on fresco on fresh plaster led to the quick deterioration and flaking of the Last Supper, although an improper restoration caused further damage to the mural. It has now been stabilized using modern conservation techniques. This is the famous painting of Leonardo da Vinci. The painting name is Mona Lisa. In 1499, his patron Sforza was defeated by the French invasion, causing Leonardo to return to Florence. During this period, he painted the fresco of the Battle of Anghiari. This artwork was to exert tremendous influence over future artists. However, it was never completed and was later destroyed. It was also during this period that Leonardo completed the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa is one of the world's famous and intriguing pictures. The Mona Lisa is a portrait of a wife of Florentine noble. For several days, she came to Leonardo and sat for her portrait to be painted. However, she refused to smile. Leonardo even tried hiring musicians, but to no avail. One day, just for a fleeting second, she gave a faint smile, and Leonardo was able to capture it. Her smile encapsulates a mysteriousness which is both fascinating and intriguing. Sri Chinmoy said of the Mona Lisa, "That smile has immortalized her, immortalized the artist, and immortalized the art. Artist and art have been immortalized by just a faint smile, a smile that has an enigmatic touch. Even now, a soul touch is there, and that soul touch has conquered the heart of the world." In the Mona Lisa, Leonardo masters the technique of fumetto and chiaroscuro. I apologize for my pronunciations, as these are not English words. Fumetto enables a gradual transition between colors, allowing delicate and expressive images. In the Mona Lisa, the use of chiaroscuro is evident in the contrast between her face and the dark background. Mona Lisa. In 1503, Da Vinci started working on what would become his most well-known painting and arguably the most famous painting in the world, the Mona Lisa. The privately commissioned work is characterized by the enigmatic smile of the woman in the half-portrait, which derives from Da Vinci's fumetto technique. Adding to the allure of the Mona Lisa is the mystery surrounding the identity of the subject. Princess Isabella of Naples, an unnamed courtesan, and Da Vinci's own mother have all been put forth as potential sitters for the masterpiece. It has even been speculated that the subject wasn't a female at all, but Da Vinci's long-time apprentice Salai dressed in woman's clothing. Based on accounts from an early biographer, however, the Mona Lisa is a picture of Lisa del Giocondo, the wife of a wealthy Florentine silk merchant. The painting, original Italian name La Gioconda, supports the theory, but it's far from certain. Some art historians believe the merchant commissioned the portrait to celebrate the pending birth of the couple's next child, which means the subject could have been pregnant at the time of the painting. If the Gioconda family did indeed commission the painting, they never received it. For Da Vinci, the Mona Lisa was forever a work in progress, as it was his attempt at perfection, and he never parted with the painting. Today the Mona Lisa hangs in the Louvre Museum in Paris, France, secured behind bulletproof glass and regarded as a priceless national treasure seen by millions of visitors each year. Battle of Anghiari. In 1503, Da Vinci also started work on the Battle of Anghiari, a mural commissioned for the council hall in the Palazzo Vecchio that was to be twice as large as the Last Supper. He abandoned the project after 2 years when the mural began to deteriorate before he had a chance to finish it. Flying machine. A man ahead of his time, Da Vinci appeared to prophesy the future with his sketches of machines resembling a bicycle and a helicopter. Perhaps his most well-known invention is the flying machine, which is based on the physiology of a bat. This is the painting, which is the glider designed by Da Vinci. In this period, Leonardo also extended his studies into engineering, science, and other subjects. There seemed to be no end to his interest. He made copious notes in his complex mirror handwriting, much of which wasn't deciphered in his lifetime. He also drew complex models of machines. In particular, he was fascinated by flight. He used to buy birds just so that he could release and enjoy watching them fly away. Da Vinci also attempted to build a flying object himself. Machines that drew on a paper, such as helicopters, would become a reality many centuries later. If his medicinal studies had been published, it would have revolutionized the science, as he was one of the first to understand the circulation of blood within the body. He also released the Earth revolved around the Sun, anticipating the future work of Copernicus and Galileo. Da Vinci was driven to contemplate all aspects of life and the world. It left him with a great love and fascination with the universe. Here forms, here colors, here the character of every part of the universe are concentrated to a point, and that point is so marvelous a thing, oh marvelous, oh stupendous necessity. By the law, those compel every effect to be the direct result of its cause. By the shortest path, these are miracles. This is a quote from the notebooks of Leonardo da Vinci. The different fields Da Vinci sought to see an underlying unity in the universe and took an optimistic view of human potential. Things that separate shall be united and acquire such virtue that they will restore to man his lost memory. The virtue in man. This is another portrait painting Leonardo da Vinci has done in his lifetime. This is a drawing of the proportions of man. Da Vinci used earlier work and notes by the Roman architect Vitruvius. The picture combines art, man, and science, illustrating the beauty of geometrical proportions and the human form. It is symbolic of Da Vinci's work and the Renaissance he inspired. To combine these art forms into one diagram, in the simplicity of a line drawing, there are many different factors brought into play. It has become an iconic image. Da Vinci's fame grew during his lifetime, though he was not a wealthy man and he had to rely on patronage of his patrons. This included powerful men such as Ser Piero, who in the early 1500s demanded Da Vinci design instruments of war. Da Vinci designed a crossbow, prototype tank, and a machine gun. Sculptures. Ludovico Sforza also tasked Da Vinci with sculpting a 16-foot tall bronze equestrian statue of his father and founder of the family dynasty. Francesco Sforza, with the help of apprentices and students in his workshop, Da Vinci worked on the project on and off for more than a dozen years. Leonardo sculpted a life-size clay model of the statue, but the project was put on hold when war with France required bronze to be used for casting cannons and not for sculptures. After French forces overran Milan in 1499 and shot the clay model to pieces, Da Vinci fled the city along with the Duke of the Sforza family. Ironically, Gian Giacomo Trivulzio, who led the French forces that conquered Ludovico in 1499, followed in his footsteps and commissioned Da Vinci to sculpt a grand equestrian statue, one that could be mounted on his tomb. After years of work and numerous sketches by Da Vinci, Trivulzio decided to scale back the size of the statue, which was ultimately never finished. Painting techniques. Leonardo da Vinci is well known for his pioneering use of two painting techniques. As said earlier, the pronunciations may not match to the real Italian words. First technique is chiaroscuro, a stark contrast between darkness and light that gave a three-dimensionality to Da Vinci's figures. The second technique is sfumato, a technique in which subtle gradations rather than strict borders infuse paintings with a softer, smoky aura. His painting Virgin on the Rocks, begun in 1483, is a classic example of both of these techniques. Leonardo da Vinci inventions. In 1482, Florentine ruler Lorenzo de' Medici commissioned Da Vinci to create a silver lyre and bring it as a piece gesture to Ludovico Sforza. After doing so, Da Vinci lobbied Ludovico for a job and sent the future Duke of Milan a letter that barely mentioned his considerable talents as an artist, instead touted his more marketable skill as a military engineer. Using his inventive mind, Da Vinci sketched war machines such as a war chariot with scythe blades mounted on the sides, an armored tank propelled by two men cranking a shaft, and even an enormous crossbow that required a small army of men to operate. The latter worked, and Ludovico brought Da Vinci to Milan for a tenure that would last 17 years. During his time in Milan, Leonardo was commissioned to work on numerous artistic projects as well, including The Last Supper. Leonardo's ability to be employed by Sforza clan as an architecture and military engineering advisor, as well as a painter and sculptor, spoke to Da Vinci's keen intellect and curiosity about a wide variety of subjects. Like many leaders of Renaissance humanism, Da Vinci did not see a divide between science and art. He viewed the two as intertwined disciplines rather than separate ones. He believed studying science made him a better artist. In 1502 and 1503, Da Vinci also briefly worked in Florence as a military engineer for Caesar Borgia, the illegitimate son of Pope Alexander VI and commander of Papal army. He traveled outside of Florence to survey military constructions, project and sketch city plans and topographical maps. He designed plans, possibly with noted diplomat Niccolò Machiavelli, to divert the Arno River away from rival Pisa in order to deny its wartime enemy access to the sea. Da Vinci's study of anatomy and science. Leonardo da Vinci thought sight was humankind's most important sense and even the most important organ, and he stressed the importance of saper whether or known how to see. He believed in accumulation of direct knowledge and facts through observation. As one of his quotes, a good painter has two chief objects to paint, man and the intention of his soul. Da Vinci wrote, "The former is easy, the latter hard, for it must be expressed by gestures and the movements of the limbs." To more accurately depict those gestures and movement, Da Vinci began to study anatomy seriously, and dissected human and animal bodies during the 1480s. His drawings of fetus in utero, the heart and vascular system, sex organs, and other bone and muscular structures are some of the first on human record. In addition to his anatomical investigations, Da Vinci studied botany, geology, zoology, hydraulics, aeronautics, and physics. He sketched his observation on loose sheets of paper and pads that he tucked inside his belt. Da Vinci placed the papers in notebooks and arranged them around 4 broad themes: painting, architecture, mechanics, and human anatomy. He filed dozens of notebooks with finely drawn illustrations and scientific observations. His ideas were mainly theoretical explanations laid out in exacting detail, but they were rarely experimental. Book and movie. Although much has been written about Da Vinci over the years, Walter Isaacson explored new territory with an acclaimed 2017 biography, Leonardo da Vinci, which offered up details on what drove the artist's creations and inventions. The buzz surrounding the book carried into 2018 with announcement that it has been optioned for a big screen adaptation starring Leonardo DiCaprio. Like many people think, let us see if Leonardo da Vinci was gay. Florentine court's records show that in 1476, Da Vinci and 4 other young men were charged with sodomy, a crime punishable by exile or even death. After Da Vinci was acquitted, his whereabouts went entirely undocumented for the following 2 years. Let us know about personal life of Da Vinci. Leonardo remained single throughout his life. He did not marry or have children. He kept his personal life private and shared few details. He was close with his pupils Salai and Melzi, but appeared to be mostly absorbed in his far-reaching investigations, work and paintings. In his day, contemporary reports indicates Da Vinci was a unique person with physical beauty, dignified presence and strong moral character. Da Vinci expresses his love of truth. To quote, "To lie is so vile that even if it were in speaking well of godly things, it would take off something from God's grace. And truth is so excellent that if it praises but small things, they become noble." This is quoted from the notebooks of Leonardo da Vinci. His first biographer, Giorgio Vasari, writes on the person of Da Vinci in 1550. Beside a beauty of body never sufficiently extolled, this was an infinite grace in all his actions, and so great with his genius and such its growth, that to whatever difficulties he turned his mind, he solved them with ease. A notable characteristic of Da Vinci was his wide-ranging respect and reverence for truth, life and living creatures. He adopted a vegetarian diet and would buy caged birds just so he could release them. As I said earlier, he is quoted as saying, "The time will come when men such as I will look upon the murder of animals as they now look upon the murder of men." Between 1506 to 1510, Leonardo spent time in Milan working on behalf of the very generous French king Louis XII. In 1513, he traveled to Vatican, Rome, where he enjoyed the patronage of the new Medico Pope Leo X. Here Da Vinci worked in proximity to contemporaries such as the great masters Michelangelo and Raphael. However, an intense rivalry soon developed between the younger Michelangelo and Da Vinci. The religion of Da Vinci. Despite being the patron of the Pope, Da Vinci was not an Orthodox Catholic. Vasari writes of Da Vinci that he was cast off a mind, was so heretical that he did not adhere to any religion, thinking perhaps that it was better to be a philosopher than a Christian. This is another painting, Madonna of the Rocks, by Da Vinci. Vasari removed this quote in second edition, but from his life work we can see Da Vinci valued reason and was willing to question dogma passed down through the ages. Da Vinci wrote criticisms of the sale of indulgences by the Catholic Church. The religious paintings of Da Vinci also indicates a religious faith expressed in a non-conformist way. His Madonna on the Rocks incorporates a Virgin Mary, not dressed regally or surrounded with a halo, but simply dressed in surroundings of nature. Da Vinci did believe in God, but his religious sensibilities were expressed through seeing God in art, science, and nature. His another quote, "We by our arts may be called the grandsons of God." This quote is from the notes of Leonardo da Vinci. Da Vinci was a great perfectionist. One reason why he completed so few paintings was that he never felt he had satisfactorily finished anything, he said towards the end of his life. And he quotes, "I have offended God and mankind because my work didn't reach the quality it should have." The final years of Da Vinci. Leonardo returned to Milan in 1506 to work for the very French rulers who had overtaken the city 7 years earlier and forced him to flee. Among the students who joined his studio was young Milanese aristocrat Francesco Melezi, who would become Da Vinci's closest companion for the rest of his life. He did little painting during his second stint in Milan, however, and most of his time was instead dedicated to scientific studies. Amid political strife and temporary expulsion of French from Milan, Da Vinci left the city and moved to Rome in 1513 along with Salai, Melzi, and two studio assistants. Giuliano de' Medici, brother of newly installed Pope Leo X and son of his former patron, gave Da Vinci a monthly stipend along with a suite of rooms at his residence inside the Vatican. His new patron, however, also gave Da Vinci little work. Lacking large commissions, he devoted most of his time in Rome to mathematical studies and scientific exploration. After being present at 1515 meeting between King Francis I and Pope Leo X in Bologna, the new French monarch offered Da Vinci the title Premier Painter and Engineer and Architect to the king. Along with Melzi, Da Vinci departed for France, never to return. He lived in Château de Cloix, now close Luz, near the King's Summer Palace, along with the Loire River and Amboise. As in Rome, Da Vinci did little painting during his time in France. I'm sorry for my cat is meowing. One of his last commissioned works was a mechanical lion that could walk and open his chest to reveal a bouquet of lilies. How did Leonardo da Vinci die? Leonardo da Vinci died on a probable stroke on May 2, 1519, at the age of 67. He continued work on his scientific studies until his death. His assistant Melzi became the principal heir and executor of his estate. The Mona Lisa was bequeathed to Salai. For centuries after his death, thousands of pages from his private journals with notes, drawing observations and scientific theories have surfaced and provided a fuller measure of a true Renaissance man. In 1515, Da Vinci left to Seattle at the Castle of Cloix, near Amboise, by the kind invitation of Francis I of France. Here Da Vinci spent his remaining years free to pursue his own studies. He died in 1519, leaving behind one of the greatest body of artistic and scientific works. Auction sale of Salvator Mundi. In November 2017, the art world was sent buzzing with the news that the Da Vinci painting Salvator Mundi had been sold at Christie auction to an undisclosed buyer for a whopping $450.3 million. That amount dwarfed the previous record for an artwork sold at an auction, the $179.4 million paid for Picasso's Woman of Algiers in 2015. The sales figure was stunning, in part because of the damaged condition of the oil-on panel, which features Christ with his right hand raised in blessing and his left holding a crystal orb, and because not all experts believe it was rendered by Da Vinci. However, Christie had launched what one dealer called brilliant marketing campaign, which prompted the work as the holy grail of our business and the last Da Vinci. Prior to the sale, it was the only known painting by the old master still in private collection. In early December, the mystery buyer was said to be Prince Badr bin Abdullah bin Muhammad bin Farhan Al Saud of Saudi Arabia, a friend of that country's crown prince Mohammed bin Salman. However, the Saudi embassy in Washington soon clarified matters, saying Prince Badr had acted as an agent for the Ministry of Culture of Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. Around that time, the newly opened Louvre Abu Dhabi announced that the record-breaking artwork would be exiled in its collection. This is another sketch of Leonardo da Vinci, the man himself. So this was the story of the man who walked the difficult path of his time and inspired the people of all times. They say life is like an abstract art. Everyone deciphers and get the meaning in their own way. So one thing we have to master in our life, and that is real art of living. Remember, you are the creator of your own life. And for the new viewers who are watching the video, I would like to extend my welcome and heartily felt regards to this channel. And I would like to request, if someone has not subscribed, you can subscribe the channel, and you can share with your friends too, and like the video. Thank you very much.